All right, welcome everybody to the N Word for Nerd podcast. I'm your host, the corny one, Jason. We're sitting here today with, I guess, we got to admit, let's just go in and break it to you because I know you guys are looking at the screen or probably going to hear and be like, I thought he was fired. So, guys, we
apparently there's a higher
going
office.
on. Yeah, there's legal stuff going on that we can't talk about on the show. But until that's resolved, welcome back, Jaron. Welcome back to the show. How's it going, Jaron?
Until further notice, I will be your affirmative action hire for the foreseeable future. Glad to be here, and glad that we're not allowed to talk about the details surrounding that.
You know, it'd be so funny if we get a guest in the show that's another white dude and Jaren's sick or something, and we just put Jaren.
Just call him Jaren.
Yeah.
Like, hey, just type Jaren into the thing on the bottom.
I would not. I would think it'd be funny.
I did not know discrimination suits work the other way. When there's only one white guy, we fire him. That doesn't look good on paper. So anyway, our other host, as always, we have the Duke of all nerds, Jason number A. What's going on, Jason? How's it going?
Hi from beautiful Jacksonville, Florida, home of jean shorts, methamphetamines, and fighting family members.
Bath salts.
Bath salts.
Oh man, have you seen Florida Man?
Yes, every day I've been here.
All right, well, guys, as always, before we jump into the great product that we have for you today, we are going to talk about top 3 sci-fi Star Wars. That is not Star Wars and not Star Trek. We're also going to talk about Dune, because I know everybody's been talking about that and have seen it. Also, we're going to talk about Injustice. They came out with a DC animated universe movie for the Injustice series. And then we're going to finish up our reviews with Ron Gone Wrong. And then we're going to have a nice little fun culture talk about what makes us mad in the culture. But before you hear all this great stuff or any of these segments, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and follow us on Head Canon Circus on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And like Jaron always likes to remind me, that's why I'm so glad to have him back on the show. Make sure you hit the bell to be notified when we bring that heat to you, like every single week. Yeah. All right, guys. I think you guys had something to get out. Let me let you get it off your chest before we first start the first segment. Anything you
every
guys
time you say
yeah?
Apple Podcast, I think you're saying apple pie, and I'm like, I could go for some apple pie.
You know, I actually watched the American Pie the other day, the first one, and I was like, man, this movie was so much funnier when I thought I could put my penis in a pie and it would work. So
when I was
after that
13 years old, I asked my brother Maurice if it did feel like a warm apple pie. And he was like,
and what did he say?
Yeah. I guess it does.
Seems like what Reese would say. All right, guys, let's jump right into our first segment of the day. We are going to talk about we're going to have a choice of top 3 sci-fi movies, books, TV shows, etc. that are not Star Trek or Star Wars. So that means we had to reach deep into our bags. With some of us, not that hard. But for me, deep into my bag to find some of these.
He's like, there's other sci-fi out there besides Star Wars and Star Trek.
When you presented the topic, Jason, that was the first thing I said. I said, this is bullshit. He's making up things now.
Yeah.
No genre outside of those
what
two.
Left?
Right.
What's going on?
Let's go ahead and we'll start with you, Jason, since you brought up the topic. What is your number 3 sci-fi?
Number 3, Battlestar Galactica, especially after this last remake from 2005, Ronald Moore, who also worked on Star Trek at one point. But yeah, such a good, I would say, soft sci-fi, because they definitely do some not sciencey stuff in there. It's not hard science in Battlestar Galactica, but it does, offer questions about what it means to be a human. What should we do if, our resources are dwindling? I love that show. I also did, in fact, enjoy the 1970, I want to say 79 movie of Battlestar Galactica, or at least the TV pilot that they did. I thought it was fun. It's cheesy as fuck if you watched it today, but it's still got some fun to it. So yeah,
Gordon level cheesy. I mean,
yeah, like it is definitely from the 70s when they were like, we could do stuff in space. We should do stuff in space. Like, what does space look like? Disco.
Facts.
It'll never disappear from the social consciousness. It'll be around in decades.
This is what the
Oh,
future will
man.
be like. But yeah, Battlestar Galactica. If you haven't watched at least the original series, and you can even go into Caprica too, not the original series, the remake series, and then Caprica as well from Sci Fi.
Mhm.
Definitely give it a watch. It's well worth it.
You know, it's funny. I fell off of the main series. I never finished it, but I really like the 4-part kind of pre-series that they
Yeah,
did.
they did a mini series for
Yeah.
as their pilot,
Mhm.
and
Phenomenal. I love
Yeah.
that. It just when the show started getting off the ground with the regular show, it just didn't feel. I felt like they were trying to tell a lot more of an impactful story compressed into those 4 episodes in the pre-series, and it seemed more stretched out and less. I don't know. Less.
it's definitely a slow burn.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot of resource management. If you ever played RTS, there's definitely a lot of that going on. But like all the characters are great, the whole talk about like, because there's the Cylons, they even have, they're not just faceless robots. They have their own
Right.
will, wants, desires, and things like that. And and some of them want to be like the humans, and like they want to be here with these people and be a part of the society. But racism is a bitch too. So especially if that the other side, wiped out your species. So
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and cop, and that actually was my number 1. So
damn, I got a better one than that.
yeah. So that was
so
actually my number 1, and it was because the remake series was just phenomenal. I thought it was just really, really good, really, really strong. I mean, it is a space opera, but yeah, I mean, like you said, the science isn't great in it, but it's still, I think, just top of the bar, sci-fi there. Actually, I think I may have stolen one of yours, but go ahead, Jaron. What is your number 3 sci-fi?
Number three sci-fi series. It's a series of movies. It's one of my favorites in the world. It's near and dear to my heart, and I think it qualifies, even though space isn't involved. Back to the Future.
That works.
Time travel.
That works.
Yep, I think it's brilliant. I love that. I mean, obviously, my love of that series is well documented. Maybe not so much on this podcast, but if you've just ever been near me when I've had like 3 beers, and somebody brings up a car that remotely looks like a DeLorean, we have a conversation. But I love the idea too, how the second and third movie were made kind of in tandem, so that they were able to, or made like together, so they were able to jump back and forth with the productions and do really cool stuff with that. So I dug that. I think more movies should be made like that. Maybe even one that we talk about and then that we're reviewing this week. I wish that they had done the second one, the first one together. But we'll get there.
What pisses me off about the Back to the Future franchise is that in Back to the Future 2, he goes to the year 2015. It's 2021 now, and we don't got none of that shit. I need somebody to get on my flying cars, my holographic video stuff, some dehydrated DiGiorno pizzas. I need that now.
Yep.
All right?
Yeah.
Like,
You know we can't have a Skyway in
to
Atlanta. We can't have a Skyway in Atlanta. People will be
there's
running out of
those
gas all the time around here going, I know my car, it's on E, but I'm good. That motherfucker dropped right out the sky.
barely flying, just like, what's wrong with your car?
My number 3 is probably going to be higher on Jaren's list, or he may not have included it on his list, but I'm going to include it. My number 3 is the IP of Ghostbusters. I mean, what the coolest science I ever realized in my life, or maybe get into sci-fi, was watching a proton pack. Like that alone was like, man, like in my mind, I'm like, you could really make those, which I guess technically you can really make those, but not how they do in the movie. But regardless of it, right. It looks cool. It was just that, and then I didn't know them as Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night stars. So when I saw Ghostbusters, I'm actually, these dudes were real scientists that really had the science down, because I didn't know any of their comedy chops until I got older. I was like, oh, this is why that movie was so funny and entertaining, because you had comedic geniuses on it. But at the time, Egon and Ray, when they talk and they were going back and forth with that science stuff, I felt like Peter Venkman. It was like, yeah, in regular thing, like it was a very good way to do science, like you said. That might not have been accurate, but when you do it and you believe it, it makes the audience believe that it's accurate. And that's all that counts in sci-fi a lot of times, is that you believe that it's accurate and that can happen. And so that is my number 3, the Ghostbusters. And that includes the cartoon, that includes the Ghostbusters 3, aka the video game, And yeah,
Which is
going
great.
all that. Even Ghostbusters 2 has quasi science in it. That's
Yeah.
pretty
And Bobby
hilarious.
Brown.
And
Which makes it
Yes.
10 times
Bobby
better.
Brown.
Yes. And if people don't know, Bobby Brown has a science degree.
Yeah.
Don't look it up. Just believe me.
Just
Don't
take his
question it.
word for it. He went to Morehouse and then he went to MIT. It was, you know, it's during, you know, his right after he split off of New Edition. You know, don't even look it up. Trust me.
Yeah. It's
Don't
facts. So that's my number 3. Jason, you're number 2.
My number 2, because I stick to this list for spacey stuff. So my number 2 is Farscape. This is also another sci-fi show. I will put a dick in your mouth with that look, man.
Good show. I like
Dude.
Farscape. I was one of the few.
So here's the thing about Farscape, and you know, Jaren can, I don't know, die.
No, I'd love to hear you defend this show. Go.
Firstly, it has the Jim Henson workshop behind all their alien designs. And when you go from straight Star Trek to Farscape, it's nuts because they have all sorts of different creatures and different things that, you know, as a kid and only being, you know, exposed to pretty much Star Trek and a little bit of Star Wars. And even Star Wars, a lot of their character designs are very human centric. Whereas in Farscape, you have Fraggle, who's this little tiny puppet, versus the pilot, who's this big giant thing, and they were so great, so creative, you know. And I still ship, you know, Ben Browder and Claudia Black to this day. They were great as the leads of that show. It asks, you know, especially in the later seasons, it asks some pretty hefty questions about like morality and what is right versus wrong, and it gets so good. And you know, it gets, you know, they cancel it because, you know, it was a very expensive show to do because they had literal like life-size puppets on set. But just from like, I never even thought of having a living ship before, you know, watching Farscape, like the ship being its own character. Like, shut the fuck up, Jaren.
Oh, bioships. Haven't seen that before.
Yeah, well, when you're 13, maybe if I, you know, I was too I was gonna say maybe I was too busy getting laid rather than sitting reading books like you, Jared.
No,
but everybody knows that's not true.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I might have lied about the Bobby Brown thing, but you're taking it too far, Jason.
Don't question it.
Farscape is really good. Fuck what Jared has to say. It's my number 2. I love that.
I love that it took you 3 things to get to something that was worth talking about. You're like, first of all, there's Muppets on it. Fuck, whatever.
Dude, if you don't love Muppets, you really have a heart.
I really wish my 13-year-old mind really wished 2 people fucked on the show, but didn't. And then you get to the morality thing. That's your number 3. You should have started with had excellent writing, hard-hitting moral questions, and then get to your shipping comment. But no, you led.
No, but the creature design was so good.
Sesame Street in space, and
the creature design was so good. You're dumb. I hate you.
All right, moving on to Jared's number 2. What's your number 2, Jared?
Number 2,
sci-fi show, movie, or series.
Returning to space. This feels it. I'm sure I'm gonna get shit for this. It feels a little bit like a cop out, considering we said no Star Trek and no Star Wars. But my number 2 is The Orville. And the reason that I'm probably gonna get shit for it is because it's damn near Star Trek. I mean, almost to a T, but it's awesome. It's contemporary. Special effects are great. The writing is good. The comedic timing is good. When there's comedic timing, and then when the drama is there, the drama is fucking excellent. And it also has a lot of excellent moral questions, and it really throws things in the face of like modern issues we have, which is what a good sci-fi show does, I think. And I it's awesome as a result.
Not a cop out because it's not Star Trek or Star Wars.
So
officially,
right? Hey, just because something is inspired by it doesn't make it in. So,
right. I thought I was gonna get more shit for that, but all right, cool.
No. Plus,
I knew it was gonna be on your list. I knew it was gonna be listed. I thought it'd be higher, but I knew it was gonna be on your list.
Well,
I feel like
I'm worried we're all gonna have the same number 1.
I feel like I'm about to take Jason's number 1, and maybe I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. But actually, Jason, this is a show that you put me on to.
Oh,
and my number 2 is The Expanse.
Ah, fuck! You did take my number 1.
Oh, okay, well, I'll let you talk about it. I'll give you the floor. Go ahead. So, because You already got
mean,
Battle, so go ahead and talk about that because you put me onto it. So it's great that you would talk about it more. Like
you're talking
you
about
sold it
like,
to me. So
good hard sci-fi, and
yep.
between soft and hard sci-fi, I mean in hard sci-fi, it's definitely more actual science-based stuff is happening. Like people do their research and see if could be plausible if given the right technology. Whereas in soft sci-fi, like technically Star Wars is kind of soft sci-fi, where they're just like, yeah, we can do stuff. Don't worry about how it's done. Okay, it's photons. Okay, but The Expanse. The reason it's so good is that, firstly, it's definitely a character piece about people who are in extraordinary situations trying to do the best they can. But it's also a large scale, I was about to say global conflict, but it's not global conflict. It's like two different planets and a whole bunch of other small asteroids worth of conflict.
And the belt, man.
Yeah, the belt. And it is you get them, how it feels from the little guy's perspective all the way up to the president of the Earth Federation of the UN, basically, and how they are dealing with these, almost, species ending crises, and it's not with, there is some alien stuff in it, but there's not like, oh, I'm an alien and here I am to come to take over your planet. It is like, it's mostly human conflict that is driving a lot of all of the storylines. But the best part of the show is fucking Amos.
Oh my god, yes, facts.
You talk about a character, and then also played by Gwinnett Owens, Wes Chatham. He plays this guy, and I've read the book, so he's still the same in the books. But a character that is very self-aware of what kind of person he is and what his limitations are as a person, but also what he's capable of. And the best thing I like about Amos is like, he is a monster. He knows he's a monster. So therefore, he aligns himself with people who he thinks has good conscience or good moral direction. So then he knows that if he's going to do a bad thing, it's going to be for a good reason.
Right.
And one of my favorite scenes, this happens in the second season, and it's a little small spoiler alert for those people who haven't seen it. The second season revolves around the crew of the Rocinante, which is the main crew, trying to find a little girl for a doctor on Ganymede. And they finally find this little girl. She has been taken by her pediatrician who was planning on doing some horrible experiments to her. And the dad catches up with the doctor who he had trusted, and he's about to kill this guy. And Amos is like, nah, man, you can't do this. You're not that dude. And the pediatrician is like, thank God you've saved my life. I thank you. I'm a bad guy. I'll turn myself in. And Amos is like, no. I'm that dude. It is such a fucking, it's so good. Yeah. The Expanse, it's just like, people say it's Game of Thrones space. It's a little bit less because a lot of people have plot armor in this show, but it is just so very good. And that's why I like it. And that's why it was.
Yeah, so I finished season 1. So that's all I was like, I got to make the list because if everybody keeps telling me, I think season 2 gets even better than season 1.
Yes.
And XYZ. So that's why I made my list. So I'm not as deep in the lore as Jason is, but season 1 had me hooked, and like I'm waiting for the moment that I can start binging season 2 very soon. But yes, Jaron, we'll swing all the way around to you. Your number one. Your number one sci-fi.
I mean, there's no question. It's Firefly. Duh. like what Tim Minear and Joss Whedon did with 14 episodes in a movie will leave an indelible mark on my psyche, my creative process, my consciousness, and my idea of what good writing is and character development is for the rest of my life. I mean, it's phenomenal. And I mean, it might be more Tim Minear than Joss Whedon as far as the writing goes. All my favorite episodes have him as co-writer on it, so it's possible that he brings the magic to what it is that I enjoy about it or what resonates with me.
Joss Whedon just bullies people into doing the right thing.
right.
He gets performances out of people because they're afraid of him.
Uses that fear. But yeah, regardless of whether or not Whedon's a dick, Firefly, number one non-Star Wars, Star Trek, sci-fi, in my opinion.
Such a cool world too. Just like the blending of both Western and Asian influences, and like fucking Mal Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not an alien in sight.
You're not
In
an alien
fact,
inside. Also,
go to
really
a-
cool
they-
that
they go to a
it's all
carnival.
just human drama of
Yeah.
of like people being bad to people.
They go to a
No.
carnival freak show in one episode, and they're like, "Proof of alien life," and it's just a cow fetus that's upside down.
Does it not take some shine off? Now, again, it's not the fault of the people who produced the show, but and it's only one season.
No, because it
Does
was
it not-
prematurely canceled.
Yeah.
Well, no, again, I'm just saying. But
Also,
doesn't that
it's
not take some
one
of the shine off of
perfect
it?
season. You know, so
Really.
maybe it's better that it was one season because
It
you
didn't
know
give
a
them
lot of
chance to
shows
button up.
I can, you know, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, they get up in their age and they get all old and bloated. The Simpsons, you know, and it's like, why haven't you put this poor cow out of his misery? You
Yeah.
know, it's not as good as it once was. So maybe it was good that it was only one season.
It's
Man,
like
we're
I
not
mean,
saying
to
it needed to be at least 3 seasons in a movie, but I'm glad we got the movie.
well, again,
Yeah,
and
you
I'll
got
agree with
closure.
you. Need to be. I'm not disagreeing that it need to be longer, but I guess to have it as someone's number one, like you know what it's like for me. It's like to go a hip hop reference.
Mhm.
Biggie and Pac, especially Biggie. Biggie has 2 classic albums. I can't deny it. Great, but like it's still only 2 albums, and we can't call them the greatest when it's all these other people that have
Dude,
15 and 13
Jason, everybody
albums
knows the
that-
greatest of all time is Machine Gun Kelly, obviously.
Okay, I stand corrected. So with that segment, that
Baby, I
ends
wish
our
I could
sci-fi. With that moment, that will end our discussion on the top 3 sci-fi movies, books, or shows, or series that are not Star Trek or Star Wars. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed listening to that. If you did not enjoy it and you have some other series that you would like to include, please put it below, because we will read your comments on the usually sometime during the shows. Eventually, we do have some comments today that we're going to read. So I appreciate you guys listening to that. And also, if you just think that our list is crap, give us your top 3 that are not Star Trek or Star Wars.
Yeah.
We would love to argue if yours are even worse than ours.
Yeah, I'll tell you
All
why you're wrong.
right. Yes, absolutely. Let's move on.
Hey, Jason, what
to
was your number 1 was going to be?
Oh yeah, we skipped. That was your number 2.
Battlestar Galactica. That's
Okay,
already
okay,
taken
right,
up. My
right,
number
okay,
one's going to be
yeah.
Battlestar Galactica.
All right.
So thank
All
you
right.
guys again for listening and watching the N-Word for Nerd podcast. It's a pleasure bringing this show to you all. Thank you again. We made it up to 2,000 subscribers, and also thank you for people who commented. If you do, or if you can, we really, really would like to go even higher than 2,000. And how you can do that? If you like, share, and subscribe our content on YouTube, Facebook. If you're listening to us on the audio version, you could definitely tell somebody, hey, I got a dope podcast you should listen to, and tell some friends on that, because we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, not Apple Pie, but Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, and Anchor FM under Head Cannon Circus. So, guys, thank you so much, as well as Jaren. I mean, I always got to remember, because you just, every time I think of this, I think of you, because you're such a lovely human being. Always remember to hit the notification bell on YouTube so you can be notified when we do post new material. And yeah, as always, Jaren, any final thoughts?
No, yeah, you got it all. Hitting that bell makes a sacrifice to the algorithm gods, and we'll show up in more screens and more places, so other people can just happen upon us. So do us that solid. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Jason, any final words?
Also, subscribing is free. No matter where you go, subscribing is free. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to us. So even if you don't listen to us, subscribe.
Yeah.
I love you guys. Be kind. Tip your bartenders 20%.
And thank you all for listening. We will see you all next time, and peace.